Chapter 971. God Setting Out. The weekend passed by quickly, and the Pro League continued to attract a lot of attention. However, Challenger League's offline tournament entered its most crucial time, so in this week's Monday Esports Home, there was an additional half a page. The suspense in Group A and D had ended after the fourth round. The two pro teams, J Dynasty and Excellent Era, had locked into first place in groups. The teams that had reached second place in groups stood out as well. However, Group B and C entered into a greater state of chaos in the fourth round. In terms of suspense, Group C's matches were decent. All 5 teams still had a chance of making it to next round. Real suspense was when one would need to go through the matches in the last round in order to determine who would win. As for Group B, although there was a chance for all 3 of the teams, Happy needed to snatch over 8 points from Team Mysterious Fantasy this round. Quite a lot of people believed that Happy had no hope. On the forums, players that looked down on Happy finally found a topic to express themselves, so there were all kinds of residuals being flung around. As for people who put their hopes in Happy, they constantly brought out the evidence that Happy had swept away Everlasting to prove the former's possibilities. However, their voice was weaker compared to the ridicule. In the Esports Home issue on Monday, there were 2 complete reports that specifically analyzed Group B's situation for the readers. In this round, Team Mysterious Fantasy only needed to get 2 points to get by safe and sound. If they got 1 more point, they could kick Happy away. They had a greater psychological advantage, so the 2 believed Team Mysterious Fantasy had higher chances of winning. However, the Esports Home represented the country, not of a certain region, so they couldn't show too much of their personal preferences. Contrary to this, the regional evening reports for Team Mysterious Fantasy gave a positive report on the team's excellent situation. They didn't even try to hide their genuine praises and expectations. While in City H, where Happy was located, the media had previously praised Excellent Era highly. If Excellent Era had stayed in the Pro League this season, then the media would definitely give more positive compliments towards such an eye-catching team in the Challenger League coming from their city. Unfortunately, Excellent Era happened to join Challenger League this season, so the 2 teams became opponents who had to fight to the death. Furthermore, Happy challenged Excellent Era when it came up, so this situation was hard for the media in City H. When Happy and Excellent Era were compared, it was obvious that no one would think of them being equals. However, before the both sides even have a chance to clash, Happy was already stuck in a dangerous position of being eliminated. The media from City H could finally speak up for the local team. However, what they said was nothing new. What the media could find was the fact that Happy had beat Everlasting. With this as evidence, they hoped that Happy could perform a miracle once more. Miracle. When Yishu saw this word constantly pop up in the report, he laughed. They're using this word already. What word would they use when we beat Excellent Era? I'm pretty worried for them. Ha ha ha. Chen Guo laughed dryly. The past few days had been hard on her. She was anxious and worried in every way possible. Especially after seeing Yishu's confident plan of not including a healer. Chen Guo wouldn't be herself if she could stay calm. Although she knew that Yishu's Lord Grimm had a bit of skill in healing, but just having level 20 and under healer skills didn't mean he could take up the healing responsibilities of a real cleric or paladin. Chen Guo was worried over making such a bold strategic move at such a crucial moment. Chen Guo feared that they would slip up like when Yishu decided not to join the team match in the round against Team Trader. However, the morale within the whole team was pretty good for the past few days. Chen Guo didn't want to speak out her concerns and create an unexpected change of mood. Even though the day of competition had arrived, Yishu still had the mood to mock the words in the report. Chen Guo couldn't find any way to be at ease. Alright, call on everyone to set off. Yishu got up and exited through the door. This was followed by the sound of a door opening and locking in the corridor. Team Happy set out. In this last round, the stadium for this offline match was much more packed compared to the previous rounds. After going through some random interviews, it was found that many of the audiences in the stadium came to watch the match between Happy and Mysterious Fantasy. I'm not a fan of Mysterious Fantasy, but I'm definitely not a fan of Happy. I hope Mysterious Fantasy can get 3 points this round, so Happy can just F***ck off. This was the majority of the responses from the random interviews. However, at the same time, everyone found that a new banner appeared on site: "Welcome back, Yi Shu." Now that Yi Shu's Yi Chu matter had been cleared up, nothing went out of hand under the protection of the league. It was said that Yi Chu was a name Yi Shu came up with when he joined the competitive scene, just like a stage name. As for now, he finally returned by using his actual name. The final confirmation of his identity verified the hot news of God's return. The influence of the first God on the competitive scene was obviously immense. His action of creating a team to fight to the death against Excellent Era in Challenger League attracted a lot of resentment from many Excellent Era fans. However, there were still a lot of players who liked this God, but felt nothing towards Excellent Era. Many of these fans were extremely welcome towards God's return. There were even fans from other teams who started to try to help their team recruit Yi Shu. Although it was wishful thinking, they called for God to join their team. There was an increase in all kinds of analysis having to do with reasons Yi Chu should join XX team online. Among all this, there was one tragic Tyranny fan. He cried out for Yi Shu to join Tyranny so that the most extravagant team in the history of Glory could be formed. However, he received attacks from Tyranny's diehard fans. It was evident that, as a loyal fan of Tyranny, Yi Chu was the most hated pro player in Glory. The diehard fans even seriously threatened Tyranny that if they recruited Yi Chu, they would boycott all of Tyranny's future competition as a form of protest. It was as if Yi Chu joining Team Tyranny was already a reality. As a result, at the site of Challenger League, supporters of God Yi Chu gradually gathered. This was the most relieving thing for Chen Guo to see for the past few days. At the same time, Sun Jeping appearing in Team Happy also attracted a lot of attention, especially fans of Team 100 Blossoms. There were all kinds of astonishment and awe. The journalists contacted Team 100 Blossoms. However, the clubs expressed that they didn't know about Sun Zeping's return. They also didn't express any intentions of contacting Sun Jeping at the moment. This meant that the future of 100 Blossoms still revolved around Yu Feng as the ace. Surrounding news and events continued to emerge, but for Happy, their current match was what mattered most. The round between Team Happy and Team Mysterious Fantasy would be played live on the side. This was a match in the offline tournament that had things to watch for. The competition started at 8 o'clock sharp. Since there were 7 other matches going on at the same time, they couldn't put too much of their focus on one particular match. The match between Happy and Mysterious Fantasy wasn't able to get more part on screen. It was obvious that they wouldn't announce the list of the contestants' names whom were playing. After all, there were 8 matches going on the same time, they wouldn't be able to broadcast them all. The list was shown through the electronic screen. As for Happy, first up was Sun Jeping. This created a stir in the stadium. After all, for an old Glory fan, this name held brilliant radiance. Finally going on stage, Zhang Yue spoke. His face was filled with confidence, and he turned his head to see the members of Happy. The seats for the 2 competing teams in the match were quite close, so they could interact directly with each other. There are still a lot of finally moments to come. Take it easy on that word, Yi Shu said. Haha, I'll be looking forward to it, Zhang Yue laughed. The first player from Mysterious Fantasy was also announced at the same time, Fang Dashu. He was a night player who had been in Mysterious Fantasy's roster for the last 2 seasons. When Mysterious Fantasy was eliminated, he didn't receive invitations from any other teams. It could be seen that his skills weren't too outstanding. The 2-player entered into the match, and started to load in their characters. Zhang Yue turned his head to look at Yi Shu. Is Sun Zeping's hand injury alright? What do you think? Yi Shu said. I say he should use it more cautiously, Zhang Yue said. Chen Guo was alarmed when she heard this. He even knew about this? Could there be traitors on the team? However, Yi Shu remained cool. He laughed and didn't reply. He knew that although Zhang Yue wasn't an outstanding player, he had been in the circle for quite some time, so was experienced and had knowledge. Sun Zeping's condition wasn't hard to guess, but he wasn't able to confirm about it. Yi Shu wouldn't let him worm that fact out. This matchup is quite good, Zhang Yue laughed. Seems like you've done your research, Yi Shu said. Teams wouldn't normally reveal the players' playing order beforehand. As a result, guessing the opponent's order, and making targeted arrangements was one branch of study in a match. Judging from Zhang Yue's look and expression, it seemed like he guessed that Happy would send Sun Jeping to play first. You guys are in a hurry to snatch the points. If Sun Jeping doesn't play, then there would be no point for him to be in your team. If there's pressure from his hand injury, it's better if he plays earlier. Then, he would be able to rest for a bit longer before he plays in the team match, Zhang Yue said. Chen Guo was startled. Why would the opponent know all of these? Is it really from guessing? So you sent a knight on stage. It seems like you are planning to drag on the fight, Yi Shu said. Zhang Yue laughed without speaking, and focused his gaze on the competition screen. The two characters had finished loading. Both sides pressed ready and were about to be loaded into the map. There were no home and away games, so they were no home and away teams. The maps in the offline tournament were all chosen by the league. All of the maps were made specifically for competitive glory. No team would have the chance to practice with it beforehand, so it was relatively fair. The map would also be used for the other matches. This was confirmed and announced on the first day of the competition, so people could download the maps. From that moment onwards, every team would train with the map they would use. The two loaded characters started to head towards the map center. Since Sun Jeping was a god, the broadcast commentator would definitely emphasize mentioning and introducing him. The commentary introduced his previous glory, playstyle, and achievements, while feeling pleased. It was much easier to broadcast a match with professional players because they had stories and content to talk about. Contrastingly, he could only dully explain the match for the teams made of online players. There were no spice to it. The two characters met before the commentator could finish introducing Sun Ziping's background. He could only stop hurriedly, and pay attention to the match. Oh, the two sides have met. Seems like Mysterious Fantasies' Fang Dashu is putting out a defensive stance, and prepared to strike back. Sun Jeping is fighting straight on. Wow. A big move. He started with a big move the moment the fight started. This confidence is worthy of a former god. Combo. Oh, it's linked up beautifully. It seems that despite not fighting in competitions for so many years, Sun Jeping didn't lose any of his abilities. Fang Dashu is at an absolute disadvantage. A wave of combo with 12 hits. Although the hits weren't heavy, the damage output is very impressive. It's concise and practical. The attacks have connected. Here comes another wave. The one from before was a fake combo, so the combos were disconnected according to the system's calculations. However, the attacks still connected. Fang Dashu must be having a hard time, isn't he? Fang Dashu's situation is very passive. Fang Dashu should hurry up and come up with an idea. Fang Dashu's situation is dangerous. Fang Dashu. Dead. Let's continue to talk about player Sun Ziping's situation after the matches. The commentator started to sweat. He didn't even have another chance to continue to talk about Sun Ziping's past because the round had ended. Chapter 972. Extreme Contrast. It was impossible to know the reactions of those who were watching the live broadcast, but the audience present was as silent as a grave. Most of the audience had been watching this match closely, so what they saw was the two characters meeting and then Sun Ziping's another summer of sleep attacking, and then his opponent died. Did Fang Dashu's knight even use any skills? Everyone's memory of it seemed almost blurred. Even if skills had been used, they didn't seem to have done anything, buried amongst another summer of sleep's attacks. 1 minute and 17 seconds. This was the amount of time the first individual competition had taken. It wasn't until the statistics were shown that the audience went mad. This was a pro-level match, right? Even though Mysterious Fantasy might not be the strongest, they had still once been a pro team, right? Even though Fang Dashu hadn't been taken in by any of the other pro teams, he still managed to stay in the pro circle a full 2 years, no? 1 minute 17 seconds? And a knight as well? He just lost with seemingly no resistance like that? Most of the audience came to see Happy humiliated, but in this moment, they couldn't help but boo Mysterious Fantasy. They had seen fast, but nothing this fast. A tanky knight being wiped out in 1 minute and 17 seconds, did he grab the wrong equipment and go up with cloth armor? Amidst the booing, Sun Jeping had already come down from the stage. He had immediately stood up and left as soon as the result was out. So fast, Yi Shu smiled, stretching his hand out to Sun Jeping. I wanted to rest earlier. Sun Jeping high-fived Yi Shu before returning to his own seat, turning to glance over at Zhang Yue, tilting his head and saying, "A night, huh?" Zhang Yue's face was clouded over, and that was when he saw their team's Fang Dashu walk out from the stands in bewilderment, listening to the booing increase by several decibels with further bewilderment, and come down from the stage with even more bewilderment. Seeing the dumb look on his face made Zhang Yue irritated, and he wanted to go over and kick some sense into the player. However, he knew that this was nowhere near appropriate. He had to keep calm, otherwise it could affect the morale of the entire team. Having been a coach for 2 years, Zhang Yue understood the ins and outs of properly leading a team. In his heart, he might have been about to erupt, but after Fang Dashu came down, he only said, lightly, "You were too impatient." Fang Dashu, whose mind had cleared a bit, was bewildered once more. Had he been impatient? However, before he could say anything, Zhang Yue was already continuing, "Go and take a break." Fang Dashu sat to one side dumbly. He had no idea that this was one of Zhang Yue's leadership techniques. He had been clearly and completely suppressed by the opponent, yet from Zhang Yue's mouth it sounded like Fang Dashu had simply underestimated his opponent. This way, he didn't let the opponent's spirits rise too much and reminded the other players to not lower their guard either. "Luo Tian, it's your turn," Zhang Yue then called for the second player to go up. His tone was calm and kept his inner shock hidden well. He understood very clearly that Happy's reasons for arranging Sun Jeping to play first didn't just stop at the fact that Sun Jeping needed rest. At the same time, they were hoping that Sun Jeping would score them an overwhelming victory for the opening match and boost their morale while striking at their opponents. Zhang Yue wasn't hoping for Fang Dashu to score a point when he had arranged for Fang Dashu to be their first player, but for him to utilize the Knight's defensive capabilities to their fullest, thereby dragging the match on and forcing Sun Jeping to expend even more energy on it. At the same time, they could minimize the impact of their opponent's fierce arrangement. This was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Yet in the end, Fang Dashu didn't do a good job, unable to achieve any of his goals. So all Zhang Yue could do was use his own composure to minimize the impact this defeat brought to his team. Zhang Yue's actions helped calm the players of Mysterious Fantasy quite a lot, as expected. However, Luo Tian, who was up next, didn't seem to be adhering to expectations. The effects of Sun Jeping's overwhelming performance couldn't be completely neutralized by just a few words and a calm attitude from Zhang Yue. "Do your best." Zhang Yue didn't say too much. The more he said, the more nervous he'd seem. If he was too serious about a match where they only needed to get 2 points, it might have the opposite effect and make the players panic. Luo Tian nodded and took a deep breath before heading to the stage. As for Happy, Zhang Yue looked around and saw Mo Fan stand up. This guy hasn't seemed to have played any matches before? How come he's become restless today? Zhang Yue said, trying to strike at Mo Fan emotionally. However, he got no visible response, not even a glance before Mo Fan walked away and onto the stage, making Zhang Yue suspect that his voice just now had been too quiet for him to notice. "Haha, don't be offended. He's always like this. He even ignores me, usually," Yi Shu said. "Ha ha ha," Zhang Yue laughed dryly, evidently not believing Yi Shu's words. On the other hand, Happy's other members felt like Yi Shu was sticking gold on his face. Mo Fan ignoring him? More like absolutely despising him. The players of each side had already entered the stands, and their characters were loaded into the map. Mysterious Fantasies Luo Tian had played as a core member for 2 years, using an elementalist character. After the commentator gave some vague background information on Luo Tian, he couldn't be bothered with this unimportant and small character from a relegated team anymore. His interest was more on Mo Fan, enthusiastically regaling everyone with the tales of deception in the heavenly domain. Hey, don't forget your impartiality." As the commentator spoke excitedly, the program director hurriedly gave him a quick reminder. The commentator snapped out of it and hastily added, "Of course, this sort of behavior shouldn't be encouraged. We hope that everyone can play fairly and peacefully." "Okay, the match has begun, let us turn our attention to the match." The commentator knew that his ramble about script picking hadn't been very appropriate, so he quickly stopped himself and turned to the match. After the defeat last round, Mysterious Fantasies player was much more careful. Compared to Luo Tian, Mo Fan had very little fame in the pro circle, but Luo Tian didn't dare to underestimate him at all. As he had his character move forth, he continuously used small skills to test out his surrounding, guarded against being closed in on. Ninjas weren't the best at close combat, but they were very good at hiding their movements and getting close to their targets without being noticed. From this point of view, ninjas had an advantage over classes like the elementalist that feared being closed in on. It was because of this that elementalists would put priority on guarding against this. The current Luo Tian was cautiously having his elementalist move forwards, using different moves and techniques, yet he never caught even a glimpse of Mo Fan. The audience was much more clear on Mo Fan's whereabouts. From the start, Mo Fan had chosen a roundabout path, preparing a sneak attack on his opponent as expected. Currently, Deception was already watching Luo Tian's elementalist from the shadows, but Luo Tian had yet to realize this. Everyone was on the edge of their seats, thinking that Deception was about to find a chance to close in, but all Deception did was patiently follow the elementalist around, as if waiting for a chance. Everyone had no choice but to continue waiting. Chance. 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 The commentator had already yelled out chance thrice, but Mo Fan continued to abstain from action. The commentator didn't dare to yell it anymore. This thunder without rain put him in an awkward position with his yelling. However, even if he didn't yell aloud, he would still keep track in his heart. It wasn't just him, but the entire audience that was keeping tracking of Mo Fan's opportunities. He didn't strike. He still hasn't struck. Fuck, that was a great opportunity, but he still didn't take it? Slowly, more and more people began to lose their patience. This Deception seemed to be merely following Luo Tian's elementalist, making Mysterious Fantasies members anxious as hell. Yet this guy never struck. It was as if just continuing to stalk his opponent would give him victory. Mysterious Fantasy started out anxious, but slowly became impatient as well. Zhang Yue turned his head around, smiling falsely. I say, this player of yours sure is careful. Careful. This was something the commentator had also said, but now it didn't even seem appropriate to use this word anymore. If this was considered careful, then careful must be feeling very pressured. He just has enough patience, Yishu said with a smile. Is that so? Then why don't you tell me how long he can wait? If you don't tell me, then I'll really have no way of knowing, Zhang Yue said. Don't worry, he'll strike when the time is right. Don't think too much about it. Go and think about what to say to your team after your second consecutive defeat, Yishu replied. I wouldn't do something as unnecessary as that, Zhang Yue said, turning his head back and ignoring Yishu. On the field, Deception was still following his target. Luo Tian had carefully moved all the way until he finally arrived at where Deception had started from, but still didn't find his target. Luo Tian immediately hesitated, not knowing where to go next. He helplessly turned around, choosing another path and following it carefully like he had before. The audience was being driven crazy. The previous match had been extremely direct, with the opponent being cut to pieces almost instantly. Although the result wasn't ideal, it was at least very satisfying to watch. Now the second match was an extreme contrast to the first. Last match was a swift 1 minute 17 seconds, and now it had become an unending stall. It had been 3 minutes since the match had started. At a pro level, this was enough time for the match to have come to a close. Yet in the current match, the two sides hadn't even clashed once. Luo Tian's elementalist was already wandering around aimlessly. Yet the target he was trying to find, Deception, was just following after him closely without him knowing. The boos started again, all yelling for Mo Fan to get out. However, Mo Fan didn't adhere, continuing to follow Luo Tian. Patient, huh? Zhang Yue turned around again, sarcasm on his tongue. Yup, patient, Yishu nodded in affirmation. So he's just going to be patient like this forever? Of course not. Haven't you seen how many people have already lost their patience? Yishu pointed at the jeering crowds. Those without patience will only lose. As Yishu's words fell, Zhang Yue startled, turning to the match. As expected, Luo Tian had already begun to lose his patience, his techniques became more and more mechanical. The opportunity had finally arrived. Chapter 973. A Scrap Picker's Talents. Luo Tian's half-hearted wariness made Zhang Yue feel the urge to rush onto the stage and whip that guy. You're in the middle of a match. How can you become so relaxed? In reality, patience wasn't something that could completely disappear all of a sudden. Patience had to be gradually worn down. Luo Tian was no exception. The crowd was also no exception. Even Zhang Yiwei was no exception. If he had been patiently and calmly watching the match, he would have noticed Luo Tian's movements losing shape long ago. He wouldn't have abruptly noticed it just now. The expression on Zhang Yiwei's face suddenly changed. Right when he was about to cry not good, Mo Fan's deception finally moved. Ninjutsu, disappearing body technique. During these 30 seconds, ninjas could climb in all sorts of angles like a spider, allowing them to attack from a blind spot. In the beginning, Luo Tian had been wary of this, but his guard had already gone down. Mo Fan had thoroughly checked the surrounding terrain. His figure slowly inched closer to Luo Tian's elementalist in a strange manner. It was a very ordinary strategy, but the patience and concentration displayed by Mo Fan was quite frightening. It wasn't just strolling down the road towards his target. He had to ensure that he wouldn't be noticed, so he couldn't be careless at all. Due to his long scrap-picking career, Mo Fan was a master in both of these aspects. Most pro players didn't have that type of experience. As time passed, Luo Tian's movements started to become sloppy, but Mo Fan still didn't show himself. When concentration faced carelessness, the result was obvious the moment deception made a move. Ninjutsu, shadow dance. When deception began his assault, he immediately started off with a high-level skill. Countless shadows of deception suddenly appeared in front of the already jittery Luo Tian. Let alone figuring out which shadow was the core, Luo Tian wasn't even able to react to the incoming attack in time. The shadows pounced on him, and the combo count skyrocketed. Mo Fan had been patiently waiting for an opportunity to the extent that everyone had started feeling annoyed, but as soon as he attacked, his agility didn't lose to Sun Jepping at all. This was also a habit acquired from scrap picking. If he wasn't so decisive, he would have turned into scrap who knew how many times throughout his scrap picking career. But because of his habits from scrap picking, while Mo Fan acquired several strengths, he also acquired several flaws. Although Mo Fan's offensive was very fierce, he lacked the ability to consistently extend his combos. It felt a bit like Cheng Yaojin and his 3-axe strokes asterisk. When he scrap-picked, even if he attacked to kill his opponents, he would usually only choose characters who only a sliver of health left. As a scrap picker, picking a fight with a group of full health players was just asking for his own death. Frequently killing these types of low-health targets led to Mo Fan being exceptional at short bursts of damage, but his attack afterwards felt rather weak. Sun Jepping destroyed a knight in 1 minute 17 seconds. On the other hand, after Mo Fan successfully closed in on the elementalist, he was unable to quickly end the battle in a short period of time. In comparison to his sudden ambush with several high-level skills linked together, his following attacks made it feel like the offensive had a strong start but weak finish asterisk asterisk. Normal players might not be able to notice such a minute difference, but Zhang Yiwei was a former pro player with a wealth of experience. He immediately noticed it. It's an opportunity. Steady, steady, Zhang Yiwei couldn't help but blurt out. He completely forgot that Luo Tian couldn't hear him at all. However, Luo Tian didn't disappoint him. After being caught off guard, he started steadying himself. Don't feel too delighted just yet, Zhang Yiwei turned his head to glance at the relaxed and smiling Yi Shu. Ha ha ha, Yi Shu laughed. Zhang Yiwei turned his head back and suddenly froze. After Deception's 3-axe strokes, his offensive instantly became weak. Luo Tian steadied himself and, right when he was about to launch his counterattack, he saw that Deception was running away. Yes, running away. The battle wasn't over yet. Luo Tian's elementalist hadn't started his counterattack yet, and Deception was actually running away already. Luo Tian hadn't predicted this would happen. When he started chasing after him, Deception had already disappeared without a trace. Luo Tian suddenly also froze in his seat. Happy's Mo Fan is really surprising. The commentator was also stunned, but he couldn't be idle. But I have to say, this is truly a scrap picker's style of fighting. Deception had disappeared, but that was only from Luo Tian's perspective. Everyone else could see Deception's location from the god's view on stream. He had gone into hiding again. It was just like in the beginning. He was following Luo Tian's elementalist closely. The match once again circled back to the very beginning. It was just that this time, Luo Tian wasn't nearly as calm as before. He was searching frantically for traces of deception. On the other hand, Mo Fan was as calm and patient as ever. His previous burst of attacks didn't seem to make him feel fired up. This was another characteristic of a scrap picker: restraint. Let's say there was an extremely precious piece of equipment in front of your face. How many players could restrain themselves from picking it up? Most would rush forward to give it a try even if they ended up dying, but Mo Fan would never do so. He would always wait for the right opportunity before acting, even if he wasn't able to get it in the end as a result. When he felt like the situation wasn't suitable for him to continue, he wouldn't continue even if the crowd's boos instantly erupted. This type of playstyle was clearly unpopular. Unfortunately, these boos didn't help Zhang Yiwei feel any better either. Even if Mo Fan failed to win over the crowd, he would at least win over his opponent. This 1 point was already on the verge of being lost in Zhang Yiwei's eyes. Even if Luo Tian learned from his past mistakes and didn't dare to be as careless, his mentality had already tipped the scale. In this situation, it wasn't just patience that was necessary. Calmness was needed too. However, Luo Tian wasn't calm at all. He treated every tree and blade of grass as an enemy, throwing his magic around aimlessly. He's lost it. Yi Shu shook his head. It was as if Mo Fan heard this evaluation. He suddenly made his move. Mo Fan didn't choose to use disappearing body technique to find an opportunity to move closer. Instead, he's directly revealed himself, the commentator cried out. Luo Tian was surprised by this sudden appearance, but he immediately followed up with a bunch of attacks delightedly. His elementalist staff waved. However, not even a spark flew out from it. What is Luo Tian doing? Is he posing? The commentator was puzzled. Luo Tian wanted to cry. After putting in the correct inputs, he heard a system notification, on cooldown. Such a low-leveled mistake actually happened to a pro player. The extent of Luo Tian's instability could be seen from this. He hastily chose another skill and couldn't help but check which skills were on cooldown and which skills weren't. He had been throwing out magic spells randomly along the way. It was just like Yi Shu said. He had completely lost it. There was no purpose or decision-making in his cautious choices. He didn't even remember which skills were on cooldown. As a result, Mo Fan once again took the initiative. At the same time, this wave of attacks left Luo Tian in despair. His ability to resist fell to zero, so much so that he couldn't even steady himself like before. He was like a noob, randomly throwing skills trying to escape from the predicament. Against this type of defense, even if Mo Fan was lacking in his ability to follow up, he was more than good enough to deal with it. As a result, he didn't retreat this time. A short moment later, Luo Tian's elementalist fell. The second round of the match concluded. The post-game statistics on the screen made the entire crowd boo loudly. 8 minutes 12 seconds. This match actually took 8 minutes and 12 seconds. In the individual competition, this was absolutely considered an anomaly. In any case, Happy pocketed that 1 point. Mo Fan quietly went off the stage. Not bad, Yi Shu clapped. The others from Happy applauded his performance. Mo Fan didn't say anything and quietly returned to his seat as if nothing had happened. His eyes were fixed on the stage. Who knew what he was truly thinking? Team Mysterious Fantasies Luo Tian went down from the stage too. His face was pale, and he stumbled on the way over. You lost your calm. Zhang Yiwei hastily covered his inner thoughts and said to Luo Tian. You actually found his weakness, but you didn't do a good job turning that into an advantage, Zhang Yiwei followed up. Unlike before with Fang Dashu, he didn't find an excuse like you were just too impatient. This time, Zhang Yiwei really had seen an opportunity for Luo Tian to make a comeback. Unfortunately, Mo Fan immediately chose to run away, making Luo Tian instantly feel lost. Next time, Zhang Yiwei patted Luo Tian, telling him that he could take a break. For the third match, Team Happy's Wei Chen came out. A look of pride showed up on his grisly face. He glanced at the player seats for Team Mysterious Fantasy and waved his hands. This señor's about to go on stage. Is there even a need to play this match? Why don't you just forfeit? Zhan Wenyi ignored him. He nodded his head towards the player, who would be playing for this third match. That player stood up and headed over to the stage with his head held high. There's really no need to play this match. You guys only need 2 points. What's the point of fighting for this 1 point? My recommendation is that you just play around and save your time and energy, Wei Chen followed up. The referee immediately ran over from the stage and threw a yellow card at Wei Chen. Inappropriate remark. First warning. If you violate the competitive integrity of Glory a second time, the committee will rethink your qualifications to compete, the referee said gravely. F***CK, I can't even make a joke, Wei Chen defended himself. The referee didn't care though, he turned around and went back on stage. Their demands are so strict nowadays, Wei Chen said angrily towards his teammates and then walked onto the stage. Chapter 974. Forced into helplessness. The third round of the individual competition began. The characters on both sides loaded into the map and prepared to fight. It was just like Wei Chen said. In theory, this round was pointless for both sides. This single point wouldn't affect the overall outcome of the match. However, competition was not as simple as adding two numbers together. This point wouldn't have any effect on the outcome of the match, but the winner of this round could affect their team's momentum in the following sections of the match. Team Happy had won 2 rounds in a row in the individual competition. Their morale was undoubtedly at a high. As for Team Mysterious Fantasy, losing 2 rounds in a row in such an extreme manner was a heavy blow to their morale. Zhang Yue pretending that it wasn't a big deal wouldn't be enough to neutralize the effects. Neither team dared to overlook how this round would affect their morale. The characters quickly finished loading into the map. Wei Chen's Windward formation was without a doubt the character in the spotlight in this year's Challenger League. Although Team Excellent Era had one Autumn Leaf, Life Extinguisher, and Dancing Rain, these were all all-star characters. Players were used to seeing their greatness, but Windward formation. This character had come out of nowhere and appeared with 8 pieces of silver equipment. In the pro scene, most subs didn't have characters that enjoyed such beautiful equipment. Team Mysterious Fantasy had been a bottom-tier team in the pro scene. Let alone subs, their team didn't have a single character even among their main roster that had 8 pieces of silver equipment. Facing Windward formation, it was Team Mysterious Fantasy that looked like a grassroots team. The commentator joked around and introduced these 2 players in this way. Okay, the match has started. In the previous 2 rounds, Team Happy won in surprising ways. Will they surprise us again this round? Wei Chen. I think the older folks might be familiar with him. He was Team Blue Rain's very first team captain. The number 1 warlock, Swaksar, was actually created and brought into the alliance by him. Those who have watched his matches in the past definitely have a certain impression of him because he has a yes, very distinctive personality. Next, let's enjoy this round. Quote. Little demon, bring it on. Wei Chen typed out in the all chat at the start of the match and then just stood there. Windward formation didn't seem to have any intentions of advancing and simply waited for his opponent to come to him. This Team Mysterious Fantasy player didn't know. He just treated it like an ordinary provocation and had his character charge ahead at full speed. Halfway through, he still hadn't seen Windward formation. He felt like something wasn't right. Usually, at this point, both sides should have already come across each other in the middle of the map. Why was there no sign of him? Not good. This Team Mysterious Fantasy player was using a sharpshooter. He turned around nimbly and raised both of his guns, cautiously pointing to the left and right. The crowd was waiting for him to hurry over to Windward Formation's spawn location and start fighting. Who would have thought that this guy would start admiring himself and stop halfway there? At first, they were puzzled. Then, they realized what he was doing and suddenly roared with laughter. This scene clearly illustrated why every round in a match wasn't as simple as counting points. This player had clearly been affected by the previous match. After not seeing any traces of his opponent on his way over, he thought the opponent had employed a strategy similar to deceptions and immediately began cautiously checking his surroundings. It didn't stop there. After looking around and failing to notice anything, he extended his search radius. He didn't hurry forward and began spinning around in a circle. The crowd roared with laughter again, but after laughing, they started feeling a bit tired of it. How long was this guy going to stay overly suspicious? The crowd's laughter made everyone on Team Mysterious Fantasy feel very embarrassed. However, they had no way of telling the player on stage. They could only continue watching with faces flushed with embarrassment as their sharpshooter spun around, not moving towards Windward Formation's location. Haha, little child, you think you can find this senior just spinning around like that? A message from Wei Chen suddenly popped up in the all chat. The crowd went into an uproar. In theory, this guy shouldn't know anything about his opponent's movements. However, he had been standing in the same place for quite a while. The other side still hadn't appeared. It wasn't hard to guess that his opponent was running around in circles, but this guy took advantage of it and put on an act. This was too much like trying to hit a snake with a stick, but seeing the snake curl around the stick. When Team Mysterious Fantasies player saw these words, he became even more nervous and started searching even more frantically for Windward Formation. Where was Windward Formation? He had finally started moving, but he wasn't moving towards his opponent. Instead, he walked over to a big rock near his spawn location and quietly crouched down behind it. Despicable. Too despicable. The rules didn't forbid this type of strategy, but pro players valued their images. There would be so many people watching them every round. In the eyes of the spectators, this strategy was too shameless. This wasn't just playing dirty. It was being dirty. Even the commentator noted it. After seeing Windward Formation's move, he also felt powerless. As a professional commentator, he had done his homework beforehand. He obviously had some understanding of Wei Chen's background, but he didn't have that much time. He had only skimmed through a few articles relating to Wei Chen. Shameless, unscrupulous. The information that he had seen was filled with all sorts of synonyms for this words. It wasn't convenient for him to directly say these words as a commentator, so in the end, he just said that Wei Chen had a very distinct personality. Now, he finally witnessed this distinct personality. He couldn't even make any comments on it. As a result, the entire stadium was silent. Wei Chen's Windward Formation just sat there, hiding behind a rock. Team Mysterious Fantasies sharpshooter continued to look at everything suspiciously. The commentator didn't know what to say. The crowd was speechless. Was this a match or a farce? Seeing how Wei Chen would say a few words in the all chat from time to time, everyone in Team Mysterious Fantasy felt a bit regretful. Maybe they should have listened to Wei Chen and just forfeited. Wasn't that actually a good suggestion? The other side was calm and unruffled in the midst of chaos. He didn't seem to be embarrassed at all, hiding in a corner. On the other hand, their player was being overly suspicious. He had told himself that he would try very hard. After the initial fun and embarrassment, Team Mysterious Fantasy started to feel some sympathy and bitterness. It would be better to just lose this round, than to watch their teammate keep trying and making a fool of himself. Zhang Yue could feel his team's emotions. He turned around and said a few words to a player. Forfeit. Tang Xin heard his coach's decision. He was still astonished. Even though he had thought about it, he still gave up on it, but now, the coach had actually decided on it. Tang Xin was Team Mysterious Fantasy's captain. The Pro Alliance hadn't approved of a coach position. The team captain had a lot of power. Coaches did not enjoy that same authority. For example, if the team wanted to forfeit right now, besides the player playing on stage, only the team captain had the power to make that decision. As a result, only the team captain could go and talk to the referee. If Zhang Yue went to the referee with his position as a coach and told him that his team would forfeit this round, the referee would simply ignore him. Are we really going to forfeit? Tang Xin hesitated. Even though the team captain had that right, it was still an individual competition. The player on stage hadn't given up yet. Making this decision would certainly hurt the player who was trying so hard. It's fine, Zhang Yue made his decision. What he wanted this round wasn't a victory because that 1 point wasn't important. Zhang Yue had wanted to utilize this match to win back some morale to the team, but their player was just being toyed with. The other side was happily waiting for his exhausted opponent. If this continued, their chances of losing were very high. This result would be an even greater blow to their morale. Even though winning in this situation would certainly be a huge momentum swing for their entire team, Zhang Yue wasn't willing to gamble because he could already tell that giving up on this match would be freeing for the entire team. This round was too sullen and depressing. Okay. In Team Mysterious Fantasy, their coach was supreme. Tang Xin could only respect Zhang Yue's decision and walked over to the stage. No one was allowed on stage in the middle of a match. When Tang Xin got close, the referee blocked his path. Tang Xin told him what he had come over to say. The referee was startled. He made one final confirmation with Tang Xin. After confirming it with Tang Xin, he returned to the stage and went over to Team Mysterious Fantasies player. Tang Xin didn't return to his seat. He had to pick up his player here. He was certain that this decision would definitely make his player very disappointed with himself. He had to do his best to console him. Soon afterwards, the referee told the Team Mysterious Fantasy player on stage that the team had forfeited this round. And just like that, with neither side meeting each other, Team Mysterious Fantasies player left the stage. The referee announced Team Happy's victory. What? Wei Chen was still hiding behind the rock, thinking of what else to say next, when he suddenly saw a notification that the other side had left the match. He was puzzled. In a match, there were times when you were aware that you were outclassed and admitted defeat in a stylish manner, but the two sides hadn't even seen each other yet and the other side already forfeited. Wei Chen got up from his seat and saw Team Mysterious Fantasies player leaving the stage. He walked down from the stage filled with bewilderment and looked at Team Mysterious Fantasies side. Now you forfeit? What were you doing before? We didn't know you'd be so shameless. Team Mysterious Fantasies players were all cursing in their hearts. They revealed all sorts of unfriendly looks towards Wei Chen. However, just like Zhang Yue predicted, this loss actually made everyone else ease up quite a bit. The player who had been forced to forfeit was sitting in a corner, staring blankly into space. No one knew what he was thinking. The team captain, Tang Xin, was sitting next to him, trying his best to console him. Then, everyone heard Wei Chen's words after he returned to Team Happy's seats. How was that? I played pretty well, didn't I? Chapter 975. Gun Fu. Cough 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 cough. Wei Chen's remarks sent Team Happy into a fit of coughs. Everyone used this method to dodge the question. They all refused to answer it. However, gods were still the mightiest. The look on Yi Shu's face didn't change. He calmly replied back, "You type pretty well." Ha ha ha, that's what I meant. Wei Chen laughed, sending Team Happy into another fit of coughs. The individual competition was over. Team Happy won all 3 rounds, taking 3 points for themselves. Having not won any points in the individual competition, Team Mysterious Fantasy needed to win either the group arena or team competition. As for Team Happy, after winning these 3 points, the group arena wasn't as stressful. The deciding battle would definitely be the team competition. But since Team Happy needed to win more than 8 points to qualify out of groups, they already knew that they needed to win the team competition, so their mentality was no different than before. Winning all 3 points in the individual competition made their morale soar. As for Team Mysterious Fantasy, after 2 losses in the individual competition, the 3rd round made a turn for the better. When things moved to the extreme, they could only move in the opposite direction. In the 3rd round, Wei Chen beating their player in such a manner made Team Mysterious Fantasy furious. Under the instigation from the experienced Zhang Yue, their morale ignited once more. It was only a pity that this 3rd player could only become a sacrificial pawn for Zhang Yue's morale boost. At this moment, Zhang Yue didn't have the time to console this player. The break between the individual competition and the group arena was rather long. After both sides made their preparations, they went into battle once again. The fires of the competition grew increasingly stronger. Okay, Team Mysterious Fantasy versus Team Happy. The 2nd round's group arena will soon start. On the broadcast, advertisements would be played during the break time. Just before the group arena began, the broadcast returned to the program and the commentator began his work once again. In the previous battle, the commentator practically didn't utter a word near the end. Usually, this could be considered as a broadcasting accident, but it was unprecedented this time. The commentator didn't speak when he was meant to. It seemed like Wei Chen's super shamelessness had stunned everyone. Everyone understood the commentator's reaction and forgave him. The players on both sides have now entered the stage. On Team Happy's side, the first player to go out is Bao Rongxing. This player is the definition of a rookie. He'll frequently make extremely low-level mistakes. Who knows what type of performance he will give in a crucial match like today's. On Team Mysterious Fantasy's side, the first player to go out is Tang Xing. This arrangement is a little unexpected. As Team Mysterious Fantasy's captain, Tang Xing could be considered their team's best player. According to the usual convention, this type of player should be the last one in the group arena. I wonder why Team Mysterious Fantasy made such an arrangement. We all know that Team Mysterious Fantasy has their own dedicated coach to guide them. There should be a reason for this arrangement. We'll only be able to figure out what his intentions are from watching the match. Okay, the match has officially started. The commentator had been awkwardly silent in the previous round. It was as if his words had been transferred to this one. He talked non-stop as soon as he started. The characters on both sides are moving forward. Neither of them are employing any tactical moves. Are they planning on directly confronting each other? Oh, Tang Xing has changed his pathing. He's started to take a roundabout route. It looks like he's planning on catching his opponent off guard. Okay, Tang Xing has successfully circled around to the side of his opponent. Bao Rongxing hasn't noticed him yet. Tang Xing is moving closer step by step. He can already start attacking at this distance. But Bao Rongxing still hasn't noticed him. He's still moving forward like before. That shouldn't be happening. It's already been this long and he hasn't encountered his opponent. Shouldn't he know that the opponent isn't just charging forward? Tang Xing is by Steamed Bun Invasion's side. He still hasn't attacked. At this moment, I think many people are thinking the same thing as me. Remember the second round of the individual competition? Is Tang Xing planning on using this method to fight eye for an eye? Oh, he's not doing that. Tang Xing has attacked. He's taken the initiative. As the commentator shouted, the two sides started their first exchange. Tang Xing's character was a sharpshooter. It was the class that their coach Zhang Yue once used. Zhang Yue also placed a lot of hope and expectations on him because of this. Under his guidance, hints of his past self appeared in Tang Xing's playstyle. Gun Fu. This was what Zhang Yue had been most proficient in. After becoming the coach for Team Mysterious Fantasy, he had done everything he could to help Tang Xing. He could be considered one of the rare bright spots in this weak team. Gun Fu didn't mean that the sharpshooter would go up close and start brawling, but it also didn't mean that the sharpshooter would move too far away from the opponent either. The crux of this playstyle revolved around the 4 words, having room to maneuver. What exactly this entailed depended on every player's skill level. Tang Xing's Gun Fu maintained about 5 units from the opponent to freely move around. It was a rather ordinary level for sharpshooters proficient at this playstyle. He was very far away from a top god like Zhou Zikai, who maintained about 3 units. 1 unit was the length of 1 step taken by a character moving normally, so Gun Fu was usually divided into X steps. How many steps was the best depended on each player's preference, but those who could use 3 steps Gun Fu could also easily do 5 steps Gun Fu. However, those who could only use 5 steps Gun Fu would find it extremely difficult to do 3 steps Gun Fu. Every step required a faster reaction time and higher technical skill. Tang Xing had limited talent. After receiving Zhang Yue's guidance, he became specialized at Gun Fu. Unfortunately, he could only reach 5 steps and couldn't go past it. There was nothing Zhang Yue could do about that. In the past, his Gun Fu had also only reached 4 steps. He couldn't advance any further. He was fully aware of the helplessness of lacking talent, so he couldn't demand Tang Xing to break through to 4 steps. He could only have him continue improving his utilization of 5 steps Gun Fu. 5 steps Gun Fu was more than enough to deal with a rookie like Bao Rongxin. Tang Xing's sharpshooter rushed forward and quickly entered a 5-step radius. Zhang Yue nodded his head in satisfaction at Tang Xing's skillful Gun Fu. Steamed Bun looked somewhat panicked after being ambushed. It looked like he had no plans on resisting. Steamed Bun Invasion stumbled about from Tang Xing's sharpshooter. Running away seemed to be the only thing on his mind. Zhang Yue laughed loudly. That was too much of a rookie's reaction. He had no idea what to do when caught unprepared. He didn't have the experience to make any subconscious decisions. The only thing he could do was run. I truly don't understand why you keep using a player like him again and again. Zhang Yue looked towards Yi Shu. What's the problem? Yi Shu asked back. What the problem? Do I really need to point it out? Zhang Yue saw Steamed Bun Invasion's sorry figure. I think the problem is with you. Isn't running away the correct way of dealing with Gun Fu? Yi Shu said. The smile on Zhang Yiwei's face suddenly froze. Yishu's words were simple, but he understood his meaning. In more professional terminology, running away translated to constantly moving and altering the distance between the two sides. The crux of Gunfu was distance. If Tang Xing controlled the distance, Gunfu's characteristic of freely maneuvering around would be fully utilized, but if he couldn't control the distance, Gunfu would be disrupted, giving the opponent an opportunity to counter-attack. Steamed Bun Invasion was running and stumbling while being chased by Tang Xing's sharpshooter. That, along with him clearly being a rookie, made it difficult to connect it with tactics. After listening to Yishu's words, he looked more carefully. Steamed Bun Invasion was running away like a dog, but he was successfully dodging attack after attack. Because Tang Xing needed to chase his opponent, he was unable to control the distance between them. Is he intentionally moving like that? Zhang Yiwei looked left and right. He couldn't help but think it didn't seem to be the case. If it was intentional, why did it need to look so ugly? But then again, this kind of ugliness would very likely lower Tang Xing's guard. From the individual competition, it could be seen that Team Happy's players didn't care about their images at all. They had no intentions of trying to gain the crowd's favor. They used whatever methods they could to win. For a team like that, pretending to be a fool to make the opponent lower his guard was as easy as pie. Tang Xing, don't fall for it. Hurry up and see through it. Zhang Yiwei started to worry. He had placed Tang Xing first to establish a psychological advantage because he knew that Team Happy certainly put God Yichu last in the group arena. If the two sides fought evenly in the first two rounds, God Yichu would determine the winner of this group arena. Even if they had their most outstanding player Tang Xing go last, Yichu wouldn't be afraid of him at all. Thus, he might as well just put Tang Xing first and hopefully have him beat more Team Happy players. That way, they might be able to have their remaining two players face Yichu. Wouldn't a 2v1 give them a psychological advantage? But now, Tang Xing might fall into a trap. How could he not worry? Not good. He was roaring at Tang Xing in his heart to notice, fearful of the consequences, but then, an opening appeared in Tang Xing's gunfu. Zhang Yiwei, who was also an expert at gunfu, and immediately noticed it. And closely following it, a brick whistled by.